of good news this time. Quan is my main character. The bad news is, I'm still terrible with him despite having used him since release, but I'm still confident about the topic of this video: Tremor synergies with Quan's 2-1 string. There's a lot to unpack here, but let's talk about execution first. Press 2-1, call Tremor. Once he is on screen, press 4, then input whichever cameo move you want to perform. Then you input the last 4 of the string, or a special move you want to cancel into. Now that that's out the way, we can get into how each variation interacts with this string. I'll start with metallic, since this is what I started experimenting with in the first place. This all stemmed from the hard to block scenarios that exist with ambush lows thrown into strings with 2 overheads. Now, although the unblockable protection keeps the final hit of this sequence from hitting near guaranteed, we're still afforded some mix-ups here. The way to not get hit like in this clip is to block the string as normal, as an overhead hits first. If you fear the low and try to block it, you will get knocked down. So long as you block whatever comes first, the unblockable protection will save you. Unfortunately for you, however, there are ways for the Quan player to alter what hits first by changing the timing of the Tremor ambush, or simply by removing the final overhead altogether with a special cancel. With the opponent guessing correctly on the mix-up, if you finish the string you are punishable on block, as although the low rock hits last, Quan is still in recovery frames, so the best option in this mix-up is with cancelling into armor portal, as although you are still minus, there is a portal looming over your opponent, which can punish them for any overzealous pressure they may apply. If none of that appeals to you, you still have access to forward cameo to push the opponent a considerable distance away, opening up the use of Zone of Power to threaten with skulls, Zone of Fear to be safe from everything bar projectiles, or even Bone Cage to restrict your opponent's movement options. And apart from the gap after stand 2, the rest of this sequence doesn't have space to armor out, and the latter 2 specials even punish those attempting to escape. Moving on to Aftershock, the setups to do with forward cameo remain almost exactly the same, with Rock Punch giving 4 less frames of advantage. It still leaves no gap to be exploited. One of the things that Aftershock has over the other variations is if you have already committed to swapping to it, you can hit confirm into a full combo with Arc Cameo. With Ground Pound being faster than Rolling Rock, you require different timing to mix up with this back cameo. With the way I've been inputting it here, the unblockable protection takes effect on the first overhead rather than the last, but you still block the string as normal. Where special cancelling was the more powerful option in metallic, if you apply the same tactic here you will be punished, but it's much easier this time. In Aftershock it's much better to finish the string keeping you at -8, but the way you mix your opponent up here is by summoning early, summoning later, by not changing the timing, or ending the string in 2-1. By pressing cameo at the same time as 2, and then inputting back cameo when you press 4, you change the first overhead into a low. Cancelling into a special here is punishable if blocked, so end the string and either kick to remain mostly safe. The reward on hit and block is lacking here, but the ability to change how to block the string, adding to the mental stack of your opponent, is something to consider. I have some interesting tech here for the delayed Tremor ambush and a further 2 more timings. First of all, call Tremor after pressing 2-1-4, then time the last 4 and perform Ground Pound. This will turn the final overhead into a low, and if the opponent guesses wrong, the full Ground Pound animation plays out and you are gifted with a meaty low unless they delay wake up. There is a strange weakness to this setup. If the opponent gets hit by anything else other than the low, Tremor won't even perform the attack, which damages the consistency of this sequence, rewarding the opponent with the lesser punishment for guessing wrong on the first overhead, despite the reward of the meaty Ground Pound, and even though you don't spend any cameo meter. I think this is one of the weaker setups here due to its narrow nature. A slightly earlier use of Ground Pound, inputting both cameo commands before the last 4 of the string gives you this. On block, the unblockable protection is not in effect. I repeat, the opponent needs to block overhead, low, overhead, and with you being -8 on block, you are still mostly safe. The options of removing the final overhead to make your opponent have either punishable or -7. So if you intend on using this timing, you may as well just go for the full hard to blockable. Returning to the timing shown at the beginning of the video, but only using 2-1, you get what I think is the strongest option by far. On hit, you can confirm into full combo, and on block, upwards of +20. I recommend taking this into practice and experimenting with different timings, as there's a lot of potential here. While recording for this video, I discovered a way to punish people for armoring through the gap after stand 2, while still being plus if they chose to block. There's also a few setups that move where there is an armorable gap while still offering a combo on hit, and more plus frames on block than I know what to do with. Lastly, Crystal. The forward cameo of this variation does share the same 2-1-4 setups and is still not punishable, but you must call Tremor slightly earlier and it only works at point blank range. Even practice mode's close distance is still too far away. As for Crystal Armor, I myself won't be using this. Because of that, I haven't labbed it as much, but if you want a block string guaranteeing it, just use the main metallic Tremor timing and knock yourself out, I guess. Overall, if it weren't for the buff given to Tremor's cooldown, a lot of these setups wouldn't be worth using, as he would be out of action for so long, but now, so much of his potential has been unlocked because of this, and it's not just on this string. Tremor also gives Quan combos off of his telestomp. Full screen hard to block setups, on top of giving him 50 health, which is reason alone to use this cameo. Thank you for making it this far and putting up with my voice, assuming you haven't fallen asleep. If you enjoyed it though, leave a like, makes me feel better when the number next to the thumbs up gets bigger. Now, whoever you may be, you have a good morning, day, evening, or night, and I'll see you online.